The image looked simple at first glance, just another family photo posted to social media. Smiling children, a proud parent, a growing household. But within minutes, the internet lit up. Because this wasn't just any family snapshot. This was a member of the Duggar family, one of the most recognizable reality television families in America, offering the public a glimpse into her expanding world. And for millions of Americans who grew up watching them, that image carried far more weight than pixels on a screen. It symbolized legacy, controversy, faith, resilience, and an ongoing cultural debate about family, fame, and public life in modern America. For viewers who remember the early days of 19 Kids and Counting, this moment feels almost surreal. The show, which premiered on TLC in 2008, followed Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar and their then-growing brood in Arkansas. What began as a curiosity, a supersized family living by strict conservative Christian values, quickly turned into one of the network's highest-rated reality franchises. Audiences were fascinated by the logistics alone. How do you grocery shop for 21 people? How do you homeschool nearly 20 children? How do you build a house large enough to contain that level of organized chaos? But the show was never just about numbers. It was about ideology. The Duggars openly embraced a conservative, faith-centered lifestyle rooted in the teachings of the Institute and basic life principles. They rejected birth control. They practiced courtship rather than casual dating. Gender roles were clearly defined. For supporters, they represented wholesome, faith-driven family values in a culture that many felt had drifted too far from tradition. For critics, they embodied rigid patriarchy and religious extremism dressed up for cable television. And yet, regardless of where viewers stood, one thing was undeniable. The Duggars became part of the American cultural conversation. As the children grew up on camera, audiences watched them navigate adolescence, courtships, weddings, and eventually parenthood. One by one, the Duggar daughters and sons began starting families of their own. Weddings were televised. Birth announcements were broadcast. Gender reveals became content. Their lives were no longer simply personal milestones. They were public events. That is why a single photograph today still resonates. When a former star of 19 Kids and Counting shares an image of her growing family, it doesn't exist in a vacuum. It taps into years of emotional investment from viewers who watched her as a child. For many Americans, these young women were once teenagers folding laundry and matching dresses inside a cavernous Arkansas home. Now they're mothers, shaping their own households, navigating marriage, faith, and social media scrutiny in a dramatically different cultural landscape. The backstory matters here. The original TLC series was canceled in 2015 following revelations surrounding Josh Duggar, the eldest son. That scandal fundamentally shifted public perception of the family and forced a rebranding effort that resulted in the spin-off series Counting On. That show focused primarily on the adult daughters as they built their own lives. However, it too was eventually canceled in 2021 amid further legal developments involving Josh Duggar, who was later convicted on federal charges related to child sexual abuse material. The case marked a definitive end to the Duggar family's era as mainstream reality television figures. But cancellation did not erase their platform. Social media became the new stage. Many Duggar family members maintain active Instagram and YouTube accounts where they share family updates, parenting moments, faith-based reflections, and glimpses into daily life. These posts regularly generate tens, sometimes hundreds, of thousands of reactions. And each new baby announcement or family photo sparks immediate headlines in entertainment media outlets across the country. Why does this continue to capture attention? Because the Duggar story represents something uniquely American, the intersection of religion, celebrity, scandal, and reinvention. When a Duggar daughter posts a new family photo, it invites a new round of public interpretation. Supporters often flood comment sections with congratulations and Bible verses, celebrating what they view as strong, faith-driven motherhood. Critics question whether the next generation will follow the same strict doctrines. Others simply express nostalgia, remembering simpler days of cable television before the scandals fractured the narrative. The photo itself becomes symbolic. It represents continuity in a family that has endured intense scrutiny. It represents generational growth, children who were once counted among the original 19 now counting their own children. And it represents a shift in power. No longer filtered through TLC producers and primetime scheduling, these updates come directly from the individuals themselves. That shift matters in today's media landscape. In the age of direct-to-consumer storytelling, former reality stars control their narratives in ways that were not possible 15 years ago. Instagram captions replace confessional interviews. Carefully curated images substitute for network storylines. The audience remains, but the gatekeepers are gone. And yet, the public reaction remains just as intense. Within hours of a new Duggar family photo surfacing, online forums dissect everything: clothing choices, body language, background details. Supporters praise modest fashion and wholesome values. Detractors analyze whether the family appears to have distanced itself from the controversial teachings of the past. Neutral observers simply marvel at how quickly time has passed. The emotional undercurrent here is powerful. For many Americans, particularly women who watched the show during adolescence, there's a deeply personal element to seeing these former reality children become parents themselves. It forces reflection on aging, family growth, and shifting cultural norms. Viewers who once judged the Duggars from afar may now find themselves navigating parenthood, marriage, or faith questions of their own. From a sociological perspective, the Duggar phenomenon highlights America's enduring fascination with large families. While average household sizes have decreased nationally, there remains a cultural intrigue around families that defy that trend. Whether through admiration or disbelief, Americans remain captivated by the logistics and philosophy behind raising many children in a modern economy. Financially, the sustainability of such lifestyles also prompts curiosity. Without an active television contract, former reality stars often rely on brand partnerships, speaking engagements, or online content monetization. A family photo, therefore, is not merely sentimental. It can drive engagement metrics that translate into income. In today's influencer economy, authenticity and relatability are currency. Politically and culturally, the Duggar family occupies a specific ideological lane. They have historically aligned with conservative causes and political figures. That context adds another layer to public interpretation. In a polarized nation, even a simple family portrait can become a Rorschach test for broader debates about traditional values versus progressive social change. But beneath the analysis lies something deeply human. A mother sharing a photo of her children is, at its core, a universal act. It is pride. It is joy. It is documentation of fleeting moments. Regardless of one's opinion about the Duggar family's past controversies, the image of a parent celebrating her children resonates across ideological lines. Every American understands the instinct to freeze time, to capture growth, to remember small faces before they change. The future implications are equally compelling. Will the next generation of Duggars pursue public lives? Or will they retreat from the spotlight that defined their parents' upbringing? Already, some former family members have distanced themselves from aspects of the belief system that structured their childhood. Others have doubled down on tradition. The divergence suggests that the Duggar legacy is not monolithic. It is evolving. Media scholars note that reality television families often struggle with identity once cameras disappear. Some fade into private life. Others reinvent as digital entrepreneurs. The Duggar children now raising families stand at that crossroads. Each post, each photograph, becomes part of that evolving narrative. And so, what may appear to be a simple snapshot of a growing family actually tells a much larger American story, one about fame, faith, controversy, resilience, and reinvention in the digital age. It tells the story of a generation that grew up under lights and now chooses how much of that light to allow back in. It tells the story of viewers who once tuned in weekly and now scroll past updates on their phones. It tells the story of how reality television never truly ends. It simply migrates platforms. For everyday Americans watching, the emotional hook remains powerful. We saw them as children. Now they are raising children. Time moves forward whether cameras roll or not. And that may be the most compelling part of all. If you followed this family's journey from the earliest TLC episodes to today's social media updates, we want to hear from you. How do you feel seeing the next generation grow? Do you view it through nostalgia, criticism, admiration, or something more complicated? Share your perspective thoughtfully in the comments. This is a conversation about culture, media, and family in America. If you value in-depth, fact-based storytelling that goes beyond headlines and explores the broader implications behind seemingly simple moments, consider subscribing. These stories aren't just about celebrity. They're about the evolving American experience. Because sometimes, a single photograph says more about our culture than an entire season of television ever could. To understand why a single family photo can ignite national conversation, we must examine it through multiple lenses: legal, cultural, financial, and social. Experts in media studies point out that the Duggar family's continued relevance is a textbook case of post-reality television influence. Unlike traditional celebrities who fade once the cameras stop rolling, the Duggars maintain engagement through a complex combination of brand loyalty, curiosity, and controversy. Media psychologist Dr. Susan Greenberg explains that audiences develop parasocial relationships with reality television figures, bonds so strong that viewers experience vicarious joy, stress, or even moral judgment as if the individuals were part of their own families. In this case, a mother sharing an image of her growing children taps directly into that psychological reservoir, generating high levels of emotional investment, click-throughs, and social media chatter. From a legal perspective, the family's past controversies continue to cast a shadow. Josh Duggar's conviction and the cancellation of the original show altered the family's public narrative, forcing each member to navigate not just privacy but reputational repair. Legal experts note that public sharing of family images now serves a dual purpose: documenting personal milestones while simultaneously signaling compliance with the boundaries of public perception. Every post, every caption, is carefully curated to minimize risk of criticism while maximizing relatability. In other words, even a seemingly simple photograph is a carefully orchestrated legal and reputational act. Politically, the Duggars remain a lightning rod. Their alignment with socially conservative ideals and traditional family structures situates them squarely within ongoing debates over reproductive rights, education, and religious influence in America. Analysts suggest that updates about their growing families are not neutral. They subtly reinforce ideological narratives for supporters, while simultaneously providing fodder for critics who view such lifestyles as extreme or unsustainable. The very act of sharing a family photo thus becomes a political statement, whether intentional or subconscious. Financially, there is no small impact either. Former reality stars who maintain visibility online can leverage high engagement for brand partnerships, sponsored content, or even book deals. Each post, a baby announcement, a family milestone, a casual Sunday snapshot, functions as both content and currency. According to social media marketing consultants, Duggar posts regularly see engagement metrics far higher than typical influencer averages, demonstrating the enduring power of a built-in audience cultivated over decades of televised exposure. For advertisers, the attention and emotional resonance of such posts translate directly into revenue potential. Then there's the social media explosion itself. Americans responded almost immediately. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook lit up with reactions ranging from congratulatory messages to debates over lifestyle choices. Hashtags related to Duggar family updates trend regularly in the hours following posts, and meme accounts quickly repurpose images, creating a viral feedback loop. This reflects a broader cultural phenomenon. Reality television families now operate as multi-generational media brands, and public engagement extends far beyond the original television format. On platforms like Instagram, the comment threads often reveal a spectrum of reactions. Some followers praise the mother for raising her children in alignment with faith-based values, celebrating modesty, family cohesion, and community. Others question whether the next generation will confront or perpetuate past controversies. Still others discuss the broader ethical and societal implications of large, tightly knit families in modern America, sparking conversations that intersect with sociology, religion, and economics. Memes, reaction videos, and TikTok remixes further amplify the attention, sometimes turning a quiet family update into a trending news cycle. The conversation, in essence, becomes a cultural mirror reflecting both admiration and skepticism in equal measure. Looking toward the future, experts suggest that the Duggar legacy is entering a new phase. The original children of the family, who grew up under the scrutiny of millions, are now becoming parents themselves. This raises questions about continuity and change. Will they reproduce the same lifestyle, ideologies, and practices instilled by their parents, or will we see generational shifts? Sociologists argue that such dynamics provide a unique lens into intergenerational cultural evolution. The choices these young parents make in parenting, public engagement, and lifestyle will likely influence public perception of the Duggar family for decades to come. The emotional human angle cannot be overstated. For many Americans, the fascination is deeply personal. Viewers who watched 19 Kids and Counting during its heyday are now adults navigating their own families, careers, and personal challenges. Seeing someone they watched grow up now raising children evokes nostalgia, empathy, and reflection. It's a reminder that childhood is fleeting, that life moves relentlessly forward, and that milestones, however public, resonate universally. In a country where family and faith are central to identity for millions, the simple act of photographing children can ignite a shared emotional experience that crosses demographic lines. Families who have followed the Duggar story often reflect on their own lives through these posts. How do they balance parenting and work, faith and modernity, public scrutiny and private moments? In many ways, this engagement turns passive viewers into active participants in a national dialogue about family, values, and the evolving meaning of celebrity. And finally, we arrive at the call to action, the natural conclusion for this documentary-style report. If you found this journey through the Duggar family's history, legacy, and ongoing cultural relevance insightful, consider engaging in the discussion. Comment with your thoughts, observations, or personal reflections. How do you interpret the latest family photo? What does it say about American culture, generational shifts, or media influence? Share responsibly. Subscribe to the channel for more in-depth explorations of stories that go beyond headlines, delivering the kind of fact-based, emotionally resonant reporting that keeps you informed and engaged. Like the Duggar family itself, the story doesn't end with a single post. It evolves, continues, and invites you to participate. If a single photograph can stir national conversation, imagine the power of stories, individual lives, evolving across time, shaped in part by reality television and in part by the relentless passage of life itself. To truly understand the cultural weight of a Duggar family update, especially a photo showcasing the next generation, we have to move beyond headlines and into the lived experiences of the people behind the names. These are not just television personalities. They are adults raising children, navigating relationships, and reckoning with the legacy of being the family the nation once watched. It begins with the oldest Duggar daughters, women who grew up under camera lights and whose transition to adulthood unfolded in real time on national television. Take Joanna Duggar Forsyth, once known to millions as the little sister with a shy smile and matching outfits, now a mother in her own right. When Joanna married Austin Forsyth in a televised wedding that drew millions of viewers, it wasn't just another reality TV event. It signified generational continuity, the transition from childhood to adult responsibility. Their wedding wasn't merely spectacle, it was a milestone symbolic of how viewers who grew up with the show had matured alongside them. Today, Joanna and Austin's journey into parenthood is documented not through blog posts or scripted television segments, but through candid Instagram photos, occasional YouTube videos, and milestone announcements that read like chapters of a book, too personal and too public to ignore. Watching her cradle her child in a sunlit living room, it's evident that this woman who once stood shyly beside her siblings now carries her own legacy, one filled with joy, challenge, and moments that resonate deeply with mothers across America. Her story reflects a truth universal to parents everywhere. No matter how public your past, the experience of raising a child, the tiny hands, the sleepless nights, the first smile, is an intimate journey that transcends celebrity. Then there's Jana Duggar, perhaps the most enigmatic of the Duggar siblings. For years, Jana was portrayed on television as the ever-present older sister, the one who helped with chores, supported her younger siblings, and embodied the family's communal ethos. But as the cameras faded and the world moved on, Jana's story took a quieter turn. Unlike her married siblings, she has chosen a life less broadcasted, a life that invites curiosity precisely because it is private. Her absence from major public milestones invites speculation, but also evokes empathy for the individuals behind the media personas, people whose lives continue off camera, away from public commentary and the relentless scrutiny of social media. Across this generation, siblings like Jinger Duggar have taken different paths, marrying outside the immediate family's orbit and relocating across state lines, raising children in environments far removed from the show's original backdrop. Jinger's journey has been punctuated by her own public reflections on faith, independence, and identity, at times harmonious with her upbringing, at times fiercely divergent. Her candid discussions about balancing personal conviction with evolving beliefs have made her one of the most compelling figures to emerge from the extended Duggar narrative. In her, millions see someone wrestling with the same questions they face in their own lives: how to honor tradition while forging autonomy, how to build a family that reflects deeply held values while remaining open to change. These individual stories underscore an important truth: the Duggar family is not monolithic. Each adult child, whether married with children, single and private, or navigating life's transitions in between, represents a distinct thread in a tapestry woven from faith, family, public attention, and personal growth. This generational complexity is exactly what makes a single family photo so layered with meaning. It is not just a portrait. It is a narrative snapshot, a frame capturing the intersection of past public exposure and present personal reality. And the public notices. When Duggar family photos surface online, whether on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, or Snapchat, they are timestamped against a backdrop of cultural conversation that extends far beyond the image itself. Let's trace a verified timeline of public reactions to these updates, because the patterns are revealing. In the first hour after a major Duggar post, engagement spikes rapidly. Fans post congratulatory messages, small clusters of emojis signaling love and joy, and conversations erupt among followers who have tracked these lives for years. In many comment threads, viewers express nostalgia. They recount watching episodes as children themselves, bonding with siblings over shared awe at the family's size, its routines, its faith-centered holidays. By 3 to 6 hours post-publication, the tone often broadens. Hashtags associated with the family trend, memes begin to circulate, news outlets publish reaction articles categorizing the public's response. At this stage, commentators who were once casual viewers, those who may have stopped watching the show years ago, are drawn back into the conversation. They weigh in on topics that now occupy the cultural imagination: the ethics of large families, the role of religion in parenting, the impact of early television exposure on adult identity. 12 hours after the post, the discourse often polarizes. Supporters emphasize themes of faith and family unity, activists and critics raise questions about